Hello, Facebook fam. Didn't see me yesterday for the show. Sorry, I genuinely have no voice because I shot 3 shows today, and so there's very little left. But anyways, on the podcast, we were talking about trauma. I've told you guys about this new trend where people dump. It's called trauma dumping, where they basically go on social media and they talk about childhoods that they experienced in childhood traumas, that they experienced. And we're talking about this one that was viral basically on the internet over the weekend, where a young woman did this trauma dump about her dad, kind of set him up as a deadbeat dad. And then the dad replied, which is hilarious and brilliant and worth discussing. But then in regards to my own childhood trauma, and being tongue-in-cheek, but not really, I think the most significant childhood trauma that I possibly experienced actually was given to me by the government. And I've been really interested in exploring my own mentality and how the human brain is propagandized and how it shapes your values and your attitudes in life, thanks to Thomas Sowell pointing out to me the tactics that public schools used to introduce sex education to children when most kids were not actually graduating with their virginity. They were graduating, with their virginity intact. Before the 1970s sex education pushed, when Planned Parenthood got into the classrooms, and then they started utilizing these totalitarian regime brainwashing tactics. Literally, our public school system, this was the reason why also they created the Department of Education, was because they realized an advantage of raising up the next generation using these really nefarious tactics, one of them which is traumatizing kids. And I revisit the biggest trauma of my childhood that happened thanks to the government-sponsored trauma. I always go back to 9/11 and what it was like being in a classroom as young as I was when 9/11 took place, and every day being asked to stand up and have a moment of silence for all people that died in 9/11, and how it sort of laid the groundwork for people of my generation, 9/11 kids, to be totally, I guess I want to say, we just completely acquiesce to the narrative that we're spreading democracy overseas, when in fact what we're doing is bombing a lot of civilians and creating a lot of enemies. And in the process, our country is in decline. And so the purpose of that intentional insistence every day that we #never forget, and making us stand and think about death in that way when we were so little and didn't really have a concept of death, is that it represented this sort of carte blanche for the military-industrial complex, which is something that really interests me now, especially given what is happening at the border. I sense in my soul, and I really hope that you guys share this video because it's really important, that they are planning something. And when I say they, I'm referring to the deep state, very, very, very evil in this country. And we take a look at who is coming over the border: Chinese people, a bunch of citizens from Kazakhstan, and it is being systemically allowed, meaning all of these NGOs are funding these random people at our border. And when I think about all of the countries that we're suddenly seeing at our border, I kind of go back and talk about how our government has funded terrorists. They keep telling us, like, oh, terror keeps happening. And then I show you this clip today of Hillary Clinton admitting, no, we fund them. We fund the Mujahideen. We funded Al-Qaeda. We funded Osama bin Laden. We fund terrorism. And then we don't tell people that in the classroom. And then we go, oh my God, be scared of terrorists. And I sense in my soul that right now there is this desperation to go to war with Russia. They've been working on this Russian narrative for years. The public isn't really biting on it. All of us, nobody wants to go to war. And I think that there is going to be an attack on American soil. They're going to pretend that it was because of some terror cell over there, and it's going to be horrific. And they are going to basically say, now we need to go to war with whatever country. If you can't see right now that our government, the neocons, the mainstream media, who are really just government deep state plants, are desperate to go to war. And hopefully if you've been watching my podcast, you understand the reasons why. The reasons why people always want to go to war is because they want to expand and they want to make money. That's it. Tale as old as time, human history. There's never been a moral crusade for dropping bombs. It's always about money, power, and expansion. And when you understand that, it is a very serious deal that Russia has been able to circumvent the US dollar along with other nations, it will lead you to conclude that the only thing that would dramatically change the way that everything is trending right now, which looks like a different economy in which the dollar is no longer at the center because we started using sanctions as a form of foreign policy, which was utterly stupid. The only way that you could reset that would be to have a war. And so I hope I'm wrong, but everything that's happening at the border is incredibly sinister, and they're intentionally allowing terrorists, and they're giving them packets on how to get into our country. And we do create cells of terrorists across the nation. There's no question about that, especially given Julian Assange and the release of WikiLeaks. Again, hope I'm wrong, but I just want everyone to be more aware, and I hope that everyone that's watching my show. I will include the link, like I always do, below and above, and I will read your comments on the show like I always do tomorrow. Again, sorry for the really bad voice, but that's my little rant for you guys today.
Hey, this is another one of the best video Candace Owens releases, and in this video you see that she explains that what is actually happening in our schools. And as you know, you would say this is not new information, but also at the same time, it's a good history for you to understand that what took place in the past, and how what she's talking about has been twisted to in the detrimental, first of all, over culture and also over children's future. I'm very passionate about it because I am absolutely agreeing with her, because I think before, you see, 50s, 60s, and these kind of education was not introduced. It was very minor. And then also the Bible was being taken out of the school houses was one of the biggest mistake that in 80s that was made. The teachers are not allowed to bring in Bibles, and also no school prayers, because it's not tolerating to other religion. Left definitely believes that America is not founded based on, or the foundation of, Judeo-Christian value, but America was founded based on expansion. Although America expanded, but at the same time, you gotta pay very close attention that it based on Judeo-Christian values, because Puritans, when they came from Europe, they came to America for the freedom of religion, freedom to free expression, and they wanted to freely worship, and that didn't happen. Over time now, I think it's being suppressed. Anybody that because of the few bad actors, it just messed it up for all people. And now I think the press agenda, step by step, was to demoralize Christianity, so everybody go wild, move more towards modern day communism, I will say that, socialist government. Everything is some of the things that they are saying is a common sense. That common sense is not it's now presented, and everything has to be twisted and turned and manipulated on their own ways. And I think that's really dragging us down towards the past, because people who gave their life and sacrifice for this country, I think those blood are being washed off and not being valued. Because think about it, a lot of the people done so much laws and regulations in place because of what happened in the past, and instead of repeating the history, we got to learn from the past, because I think that's what is coming to the end. Because if the World War III is going to happen, it's because the history is going to repeat itself, because of people and the humanity can get so much into themselves and arrogant that they forget God, and then they don't have the sense of justice and also right. And when you lose your way, you end up in war. And Candace also talked about the United States dollar. United States influenced spread over the oceans, other nations. It's incredible that United States is the biggest empire ever in the history of the world, and also technological advanced empire I'm talking about. And United States ruled for a while, over the oceans, but now, to punish other countries and using economical, sanctions and all that stuff, it's become now the other country is saying wow, because if we do not agree with the United States agenda, then that means we're going to be sanctioned. That means our people going to be starving. Tucker Carlson going to Russia, first of all, let me tell you, to me it was a little bit funny that he went into the grocery store, puts the nickel in or the dime. No, it was a nickel. Nickel he puts in the quarter. Sorry, I need to get my it's been so long since I held the coins in my hand, so but I tell you that I know the difference. Penny, dime, nickel. No, it was a penny, nickel, dime, and then quarter. Sorry about that, I had to say that. So quarter, he puts the quarter in the shopping cart, and then he goes oh, look at this, this is amazing, and you get the quarter back. And I'm man, you never been to you can go Price Chopper and do that. Oh, if people asking what's Price Chopper is, it's a grocery store upstate New York. That's where I lived for a while. So anyhow, it was crazy that that United States dollar is losing its value and respect overseas, and also Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Brazil, China, India. I mean, they made up their own economy. The BRICS, the U.S. have NAFTA, and growing together. I mean, these are major countries. What are we doing? Economically, because we definitely needs to understand that if we don't shift our thinking right now and begin to work with other and tolerate other countries, especially in policy wise, without sanction, I think gonna end up being a country with the terrible fate. But I believe that God is not done with America. I'm gonna speak life, prosperity, happiness in Canada, and to those people that Canada, did I say Canada? United States, I meant to say United States, that God continue to bless this country. So this country is absolutely the greatest country on the planet of the earth. God bless you. Have a beautiful day. Make sure you share this video.